Catchy tune. Catchy tune, isn't it? I mean, it's a shame to be saying goodbye to that tune, but we have to. We have to. All good things must come to an end. Welcome to the 10th and final instalment of the 2PM project. Chris Gabardi is my name. I'm creative director here at Interchange. Interchange headquarters. We have to say goodbye to the set. We paid a lot of money for this set, but this is the final episode in the series. I hope you've enjoyed the series. I hope you've been watching it every week. Maybe binge watched it. Have you binge watched it? Oh, did you see the 2PM project? What's that on? Netflix? Nah, YouTube, mate. Oh, well, I hope you have enjoyed the series. If you have been with us, it's been a delight to bring it to you. But today is going to be the most controversial show of all. I mean, you got to go out in a controversial way. Just the way it goes here. We're going to be road testing the ways that we should be rethinking strategy, purpose and values, and along the way we're going to consider smashing a few of those famous cliches which have emerged out of the COVID-19 experience. You know, in these unprecedented times, it's important we reevaluate our staggered starts and our lockdown policies, practice social distancing and stay on top of the community spread. If we truly embrace this fluid situation, we will successfully flatten the curve and safely pivot ourselves towards the new normal. Yes, this enemy can be deadly, but it can also be beaten. Amid these turbulent times, one thing's for sure, we're all in this together. This is an interactive show. If you've been watching it before, there's an opportunity to put your comments down the side of Facebook and YouTube. We're streaming live to both platforms here as always. We will have time to answer questions at the end of the show, hopefully. Today on the 2PM project, it is the controversial opinion time. Opinion day here, and it's time we killed the buzzwords. How does the rhetoric stack up against our strategy, purpose and values in business? And do we actually want a new normal? Thankfully, I've got some experts here who are going to help answer that question here today. As always on the 2PM project, I'm joined by one of my Interchange colleagues. Today, it is Managing Director and Founder, Gabrielle Harris. Hello, Gabrielle.
Hello, Christopher.
Ready to smash some buzzwords, I'm quite sure. Welcome. Look forward to talking to you in a sec. If you thought only one interchanger was not enough, well, we listen to your feedback like a good consultancy. I'm adding two more. Count them. Four interchanges are here this week. Welcome, Interchange, senior facilitators. What do we call you, Raj? You're an executive coach. You're just an all-round incredible guy. It's Raj Sidhu. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll just call you amazing. That's what we'll call you. We also have Jack Finsterer here. Jack, pronto. Welcome. Jack's coming to us today from Sydney. Welcome, my friend.
Hey.
So good to see you.
Hey, Chris.
Look
Hey,
forward
Gabe.
to
Hey, Raj.
having the
Chris.
chat. Yes.
Hey, Chris, can I just interrupt you for a moment?
Of course, why not?
I was thinking earlier, I was interviewed some time ago by Ernie Sigley and Denise Drysdale. And Ernie came at me with some very hard-hitting questions, and he also showed a picture of me where he completely took the mickey out of me for quite an extended period of time. So if you could just go easy on me today, I'd really appreciate that.
No problems, thank you. I wasn't sure whether you were going to make me the Ernie Sigley or the Denise Drysdale of the 2PM project. I'm not sure. Either one wouldn't have been a good option. So yes, I'll take the advice on board, Jack. And just to round things off in a massive way, we don't do things small here at Interchange. Our musical guest on the show is one of Australia's leading brass bands. That's right, leading brass bands. And today we're going to have a chat with musical director Phillipa Edward. Hello, Phillipa.
Hello, Chris and crew.
Welcome to the show. The band is, I can't wait to have a chat with you. We've got a brass band. The band is going to play towards the end of the show in about 30 minutes' time. Stick around for that. It is absolutely marvellous. You're watching the final instalment of the 2PM project live from beautiful graffiti-ravaged downtown Fitzroy. Gabrielle Harris, how about we start with you? It's a controversial episode, I know, but if there's anyone who's going to do it, you are. Let's smash a buzzword here today. What word or phrase are you going to buzzkill today, and why is it annoying you?
Well, Chris, I think I might kick us off with my all-time favourite, the new normal.
Oh, the new normal. The new normal? What's wrong with the new normal?
Oh, it is pissing me off severely.
We need a new normal, don't we? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, are we still trying to? We're still trying to make it through this COVID-19 experience, and do we want to actually get back to what we regard as normal? I mean, why isn't it a case of just moving towards something better than what we have?
Well, look, for me, I think there's a couple of parts to this, but one of those is what preceded COVID was not normal. And if you think about that from the stance of social inequities or our environmental impact, or indeed how businesses were run, I don't think that should be actually considered normal. And we really need to take this time to pull that apart. But I think the bigger question to explore really is, what is the risk of even the word normal? And I had the opportunity to work with a super colleague. I have lots of super colleagues and get to do this episode with many of them today.
Right on.
But I did work on a project with an incredible woman, Dr. Alison Milner, who worked with me on building out some programs for a construction organisation. And she had dedicated her career to exploring masculine and feminine norms and how that played out in organisations. And she said something to me once that I have never forgotten and is a frame of reference for me in so much of my own thinking. And she said businesses have a tendency to try and fix and then set. And the reason why we fix is because that's what the strongest masculine trait is. You present me with a problem, I'll solve it. There we go. We're done. Dust that off. Moving right along. Let's set that in place and we're on to the next thing. And here is fundamentally the risk that sits with that. We decide that fix and set is what equals normal and that we should attract more and more of that normality. And by having that really fixed mindset, exactly as the word suggests, what we do is we go and try and hire people who are exactly like the ones that we had before. We try and repeat the same processes to the ones that we created last time. And fundamentally, we don't actually evolve in the way that we should, which creates greater, certainly social equalities, but indeed the innovation that allows us to grow. And that is why the new normal is just something that is really grating on my nerves. I do not want us to have it. I want us to actually have a no normal, innormal. Just get rid of the word. I don't know. But that new normal concept of trying to fix and set again is really the buzzkill that I want to bring to our conversation today.
And so, I mean, no doubt this has been a period of huge challenges for everyone. And some people who've never gone through change before are deeply affected by it. You know, there's anxiety and uncertainty all over the place. But I wonder why there is an attitude of trying to move away from a challenging time. Why do we instinctively want or need to move away from this? And what is that likely to do to culture?
Yeah, well, I think uncertainty is something that we have historically in our societal makeup tried to not have too much of. And there's a very real human need for that. We look for certainty because with as much certainty as we can, it gives us safety. And safety is something that all societies require. So there is absolutely an element of that. But certainly over time, we have tried to create so much certainty in organisational contexts that limits us. And it is with the courage perhaps to face into that uncertainty that we're going to have the greatest possibility to rethink and to evolve. I don't think anybody wants to snap back to necessarily the way that it was, I would hope. but this is a real opportunity for us to constantly evolve, not just fix it and set it. We can't even do that. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
We have to be brave enough to try things and then pause and then relook at it and then consider all of those fixed and growth mindsets that we went into that with, and then evolve again. Uncertainty is indeed going to be the king of our ability to survive.
Gabe, we know, from the work that we do at Interchange that organisations have spent a huge amount of time and money on developing purpose and strategy statements for their organisations in recent years. Will a clearly defined purpose and strategy statement defined prior to 2020 still stand up in a post-pandemic world?
Oh, I love this one. Thanks. Look, I think it is such an important question that every board and executive team is asking themselves. Looking at what your prescribed purpose was and considering is it still right moving forward is critical. Now, you might look at that and say, well, it actually still stands. And if it does, great. But you're going back to that point around courage. There needs to be the desire to explain and pull apart what that means now. So if your purpose, for example, was to move Australia forward, what does that look like in the context of COVID-19 and no vaccine yet being found, and helping people to understand how they can add the most value in their role, no matter from where they're working? From a values context, again, that you need to look at those. Are they still the right values for us? And if they are, define and describe what they mean in this context, and don't feel that just because that work had been done and it was fixed and set, that it shouldn't be reopened, because that's just a can of worms. It should be reopened. These conversations need to be happening to help people to understand the role that they can play in evolution, in innovation, in supporting an organisation to move forward through these periods.
Fantastic, Gabrielle Harris. Thank you very much. Very, very smart answer. You're my favourite so far. Let's bring in Raj Sidhu. Where are you, Mr. Raj? Hello, my friend. Raj, you don't shy away from a controversy. I know that to be the case. What's the phrase or the buzzword that you're going to kill today, and why?
Well, Chris, Gabe's actually mentioned a couple of them, but the one that got me from the moment it was stated, and I'm not going to blame anyone for saying it, but the moment I started hearing it, the snapback and the springback, I just shook my head and went, "What?
What's wrong with that?
What are you thinking? How can you, from the most devastating pandemic in 100 years, what are you going to go back to?
Yeah.
Like, why are you even thinking about back?
But you don't like the spring bit? Even the spring.
I don't like,
how about that?
Spring is like, oh yeah, we're going to wake up tomorrow. Someone's to declare the pandemic over. We've got a vaccine, and we all go back to 1981. I mean, what are we talking about? The problem I have with it is my essential passion about this is the creativity and collaboration that's going to be required to navigate through and into something else. And the minute that you start looking to do something back, and be quick about it, and quickly, let's do this, the less creativity there's going to be. You need to try new things, test, fail fast, and celebrate the fact that you've tried and failed. And we're seeing that happen state by state and federally. Different health ministers trying different things, different heads of medical associations trying different things. That's the creative state. And that's where we need to be, not in this, how do we get things back into the box and put it back to normal. That's why I hate that phrase.
So uncertainty is here. As I spoke with Gabe, there's the volatility is less, but the uncertainty is still around in this current environment. What do you think that might do to the culture and values of an organisation?
Yeah, Gabe was talking about one thing that I really admire about an organization is when an executive or a group of leaders or managers can get together and say, this isn't right. We need to try something different. And I think in this environment, while you might want to keep the language that you've spent a lot of time and energy developing around your mission, vision, values, I think essentially you've got to be ready to make, in an uncertain, ambiguous, kind of complex environment, you really need to be willing to make new agreements. You might keep some of the same wording, you might even keep some of the same ideals and things in place, but you're going to have to make new agreements. And the thing I think, one of my favorite jokes, what does a consultant do when they see light at the end of the tunnel? They build more tunnel, right? But that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to be continually making new agreements because things are going to be shifting, and that can become exhausting for a whole bunch of people. But ultimately, if we go into the fixed set mindset that Gabe was talking about, people are actually going to be even more exhausted because things have to evolve week by week, month by month, as things open up, close down again. That evolution requires, okay, so what does our values mean to us now that we're in this new reality?
So along those lines, similar to purpose and strategy, businesses have spent a huge amount of time and money defining company values, mission values. How might those mission values change as a result of COVID-19, and how important will it be for businesses to challenge themselves on what they thought were their values as they move forward in this world?
Yeah, that's the call, isn't it? How can you sit people in a room together and say, are we doing the right thing? Does respect mean the same thing in this current environment as it did before? And if it's different, what does that mean? Right down to the behavioural sense of how people are going to work together. What do some of these words mean to us? I mean, a lot of people use the word accountability in their value set. What does that mean to the organisation now compared to what it meant post-COVID? Because in a pre-COVID world, accountability might have meant this is what I demand of my people, and this is what they deliver to me, and this is how they deliver it to me, and I'm part of that agreement. Whereas now it's like, well, I want to be accountable in a different way. I've got to be accountable for a whole bunch of different things, including my kids being schooled from home and, my community and the things going on around me. They are really important to me right now. So the effect of accountability has changed for me personally. Is my organisation going to be willing to take that on board as me being an employee with that organisation? Those are the questions I think are going to come up.
These are the big questions we're exploring here on the 2 p.m. project. Very smart, Raj. You're my new favourite. Yeah, I know. Are you exhausted? You should have a little lie down before we come back to you. Very good job, my friend. Very good job. Let's move on to Jack Finsterer. Someone I think is going to be the super clever one today. Jack, hello. See, mute. There's the mute word. Pronto?
And what I was just saying was an absolute pearl of wisdom.
Was it? Oh, sorry, we don't have time for that. Let's move on. Jack, what word or phrase are you going to buzzkill today, and why?
Well, a couple of nights ago, I was sitting there on my third bottle of scotch watching a very popular cooking show.
Uh-huh.
And, let's be fair, they had recorded that show some 6 or 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And one of the judges said 3 times in one sentence, he said, unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. He said it 3 times in one sentence. In these unprecedented times, we have to take extra measures in these unprecedented times, whatever it was that he said. And by the time he got to the third occasion on saying that, I really wanted to kind of wrestle with that television. And I thought, I've had enough of that. I've had enough of that as a phrase, as a term, because really, on reflection, it doesn't allow me to be in the present. And so when I was looking at that television show, it was really it was like a little time capsule, because you could see it was recorded 6 or 8 weeks ago. And now here at the end of, in the time that we're sitting in right now, as we start to come out of this lockdown phase, I just thought that is not serving me. It's not serving me as a person in the world with my family. It doesn't help me with the people that I've been working with. And I also don't think it's really serving the leaders and the people that I've been working with across organisations to manage their teams in this really dynamic situation.
But I mean, we're all reacting to these words. Obviously, there's an issue behind it. What's the danger in using the phrase "unprecedented times" in leadership?
Well, it's kind of like an excuse in a way. It's giving people an out. So Raj just mentioned the term accountability. It might be one of your values. So if we keep using that as part of our language, then it's not allowing us to deal with the present situation.
Oh, I thought you had. Oh, no, that's all right. It was a full stop.
No.
It was a hell of a full stop. I thought you had more to say. That's all right, mate. So, Jack, you've worked with a number of large organisations throughout this time. So you've spent a lot of time with the same organisation pre and post pandemic hitting. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that journey, and in particular, what are the ways that you have seen leaders and teams come out of this the best?
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of context. Over the last 6 weeks since COVID-19 really kind of came upon us, 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I've lost a little bit of track of time actually because of the nature of work. I've had the opportunity to work with leaders and people across a range of organisations. And they've all been dealing with similar issues, and those issues have been well canvassed on the 2PM project. But, kind of briefly, there've been feelings of isolation leading to, really pronounced well-being issues that leaders have had to grapple with in terms of their teams, connectivity within teams, productivity issues, all of these things that come into the culture and the leadership bucket, if you like. So when COVID-19 first hit, all these issues are absolutely put under the microscope. And so the term unprecedented is absolutely relevant. But here now, in this time, the leaders that have been able to deal with those issues and have faced into them are not using the word unprecedented. They are simply in the moment. And they are kind of aware that everything is fluid. But the leaders who are using terms like, or when we get back to when we get back to what it was before, or when we snap back, that is actually taking them out of the present moment. So there's an accountability piece there. So I've found that an absolutely fascinating journey to both be a part of in terms of the people that I've been working with, and to witness and to kind of explore, if you like.
In a world where information is changing so rapidly, I reckon we've seen business and political leaders come out of this the best. The ones who have real clarity in their messaging, the ways that they can communicate is really clear, very concise. What other cultural behaviours have you seen, or do we really want to see more of in our political and business leaders, so that we actually can trust them more?
Well, I don't think I need to really go into some of the political leaders and their communication style. But my view of the world, in my experience over the past couple of months, has been those leaders who've been able to get their teams together and say, how are we communicating with the broader organisation? How are we doing that? What are our comms look like, our verbal comms and our written comms? And then whatever communications have been sent out, they've actually kind of, on different occasions, they've had some quite strong reactions. And then it's been able to face into, okay, so why are people reacting in such a strong way? Okay, maybe we need to readjust things. Maybe we need to have a deeper conversation. And so the leaders have been constantly able to adjust, and it really picks up on what Gabe and Raj were saying. The leaders who are actually been really agile, which is again, it's kind of an overused term at the moment, but it's particularly relevant, and who are able to admit, actually, I'm really uncomfortable with this, but I have to sit in the present moment. This is the action I took. Did it work? Half of it did, maybe it didn't, but I need to investigate that. So the leaders who have absolutely been able to stay in that headspace have been the leaders, in my opinion, in my experience over the last couple of months, who've been able to work through this situation in a really positive way, if I can put it that way. But interestingly enough, it's often the leaders who've already started some exploration of their leadership journey, their skills, and what it means, what leadership means to them. So they're the leaders who've really been able to kind of take advantage of this opportunity, if you like, because they've already started that journey. They've already kind of in the headspace, how am I doing this? What does it mean to me? But interestingly, the leaders who might have been pushing back from the leadership journey, if I can put it that way, have recognized that they actually need to do something. They might not be sure what it is, but their present mode of operating is just not working for them.
Mm.
And so they've kind of been catching their tail a little bit. And that has been really, really fascinating to go, okay, what I was doing was kind of working a couple of months ago. It's not working now. So I need to open myself up more. I need to lean in more, because every conversation that they are having has more weight to it.
Mm.
And so they are forced to work in a way that is really dynamic, and it's sometimes really, really uncomfortable.
That's fascinating, Jack. I might bring in Gabe and Raj with this, with that unprecedented answer. Do you guys have any thoughts on do you have any thoughts on this around, what are the behaviours that we really want to be seeing in leaders at this time that they're not currently showing us, whether they're business or political leaders? What are the behaviours we need to establish trust in leaders at the moment? Raj.
Oh, look, if ever you were going to really listen to your organisation, to your people, now is the time to practice that. If ever you were going to hand over power and authority to people in your organisation, now is the time to be making those agreements. Because if you really want people to help each other and your organisation through this time and in this time, having clarity of purpose and handing over the authority for people to be able to, as long as it's safe, for as long as people are clear about where their autonomy is, then, now's the time to listen and hand that over.
Gabe, how about you? Did you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with what Raj is saying. I think that authenticity piece is the behaviour that we're looking to see right now. Like the leaders, or just anyone that can tap into that vulnerability and be okay with the uncertainty, to say we actually don't know, but we do have an opportunity to start to reimagine, and to share fears and to talk about possibilities and opportunities without needing to fix it. I think that's the real magic. And when you find people that just instinctively do that, my observations are that people are attracted to that. They're like, oh, I want to be around that person that says, I'm just not sure, but I'm okay to be unsure and we'll work it out together. Let's try that. Okay, that didn't work. Whoopsie. Park that. Let's try this now. It's that embracing of an uncertainty that is the behaviours that are getting us through this, and more of that is appealing to me.
I might throw this question out to all of you. If you could go into an organisation right now and run any sort of workshop, what would it be? What would you choose? What's the workshop that you would want to run right now with a bunch of senior leaders in a big business? Who wants to have a crack at that first?
Well, it would be in reflection of everything that we've spoken about so far on the 2PM project. So a lot of the things that we've spoken about already would make up a leadership workshop. But from my perspective, it would be to lean into the grey, if you like, to recognise and talk about and wrestle with and Raj, you've used this term in previous discussions that we've had around the tectonic plates that are shifting within society at the moment, and to really provide an environment where a supportive environment, but also a rigorous environment where leaders can really contest and grow their skills and who they are as people. Because what Gabe is absolutely right. There are people who are already doing this, and there's a kind of a natural attraction there because they're comfortable with it. But what I am super interested in are the leaders who are not comfortable with it, who do not find it easy, and yet they are in a position where they have to lead. And they have got to sit in both the complexity of the time that we live in and the complexity of their own emotions and the complexity of their own skill set. And providing that environment and to really honing in on that, I think would be a really wonderful thing to do.
Fantastic, Jack. Thank you. Gabe, what about you? What's the workshop that you would love to be running right now with an organisation?
Well, I can give you the standard answer of, looking at exploring the purpose, the strategy and the culture that needs to be in place. But I think something that could be really interesting, just off the back of what Jack was saying, is something that kind of more explores emotion and what we're feeling and why we're behaving. The thing that springs to mind is helping people to understand the stages of grief and how we demonstrate that, because we're going through a grieving of sorts from a world that we had to a world that we now need to recreate, and getting real with the why do we act the way that we act when things are a bit uncertain would be really interesting. So I think I would love to do something along those lines, pulling apart the emotions that we feel and the way that leads us to behave.
Fascinating. Raj, how about you?
Yeah, I'd like to be in both of those workshops, Jack and Gabe. Yeah, that's at the risk of sounding a little bit fixing and setting, Gabe, I don't want to do that. I would like, if it was a senior leadership team, and as Jack mentioned, that the whole idea of this, the tectonic plates have shifted and they ain't coming back. They're not coming back together, not the same way they were. I'd be wanting to get a leadership group to look each other in the eye and go and really go to the depth of how are you feeling? How anxious are you feeling? And what do the next 3 months look like for this organisation? What are the agreements we can put in place as a leadership group to test and check with each other as we look at what the organisation needs to do to reorganise itself every week, right? Because that's what you're going to be doing. And what are the conversations that you are most urgently sensing you need to have with your people? And what support mechanisms do they need to put in place for you to feel supported? And what mechanisms do you need to put in place for them so that they feel supported? So that would be the practicality of my conversations, I think.
What a wonderful conversation. What a bunch of clever people you all are. You're all my favourites. I can't decide. Anyway, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Thank you, guys. Jack Finsterer, Gabrielle Harris, Raj Sidhu. Clever, clever folk. Boy, have we got an organisation for you. Let's move on to our house band today. We couldn't have done it any smaller. Glenferrie Brass. We have Phillipa here to have a chat, but I'll do a little introduction about Glenferrie Brass. So, the band is one of Australia's leading brass bands based in Hawthorn. The band regularly performs, when able to, obviously, at concerts, competitions in the community and at corporate events. The band has a proud history, having won 18 national and numerous state titles. Holy moly. The band has also toured extensively through Australia and overseas as a proud ambassador for Melbourne and the local community. Its members are a blend of professional and amateur musicians who come together with a shared love of music and brass banding. Brass banding is a phrase I've never said before. Phillipa Edwards is the musical director of Glenferrie Brass. Phillipa, where are you? Welcome to the 2PM project.
Hi, Chris. Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, look, it's a pleasure to have you. I mean, we had to go out in fine style having a brass band on the show, but I'm so pleased you accepted our invitation. What happens to a brass band when suddenly you can't get in a room and practice anymore? What happens?
It's been a bit of a disaster, but quite the journey. Is that another buzzword I'm allowed to use?
It's okay. We can smash it.
Times?
We can smash it today. It's been another journey. What sort of journey has it been like? I can't imagine what that would have been like.
Well, it's actually been a bit tricky because we're wind players as well. There's all these added issues with air and the condensation that comes out of the instruments being left behind and all the rest of it. So we've been struggling with that. So we had a committee meeting last night. We're trying to work out through the Burundara Council and get ourselves organised. But what we've done is we've been putting together tracks. So we've got a couple of members in the band. Jared Banner, he's quite the whiz at technology. So we put a little track together. Everyone plays their own part in their lounge room or out the backyard. Then he puts it all together. So we've released the one you've seen, Let Me Entertain You. Then we did My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose, which for Mother's Day, featuring Jamie Lawson on Principal Corner. It's beautiful. We're about to do another track to send it off to England. As part of there's a band competition there called Whit Friday, and it's a marching competition. So you have to send it off, and we're not allowed to cheat with that one, so you can't edit it.
Right.
And then we're doing a bit of a collab with Dandenong Band, and we're going to do, because this is about the time of Eurovision, so we're going to do Kate Miller-Heidke's Zero, what's it called again? Zero Gravity, that she sang last year. So two bands together are going to put it together in their lounge rooms, and then we're going to get a singer called Danielle Matthews, who's made quite a name for herself. You may not have seen it, but there's a bin page on Facebook, and everyone's been getting dressed up to take their bins out. So Danielle's been doing all these tracks on that. So she's going to come and sing for us, and then we're going to release that as well. So that's what's been keeping us motivated, because otherwise you lose your chops and people lose their fitness, lose their motivation, and we've got to keep going.
I imagine it's probably a well-being thing for people as well. It's probably, I know you've got a mix of professional and amateur musicians, but for some people this is a hobby that brings them joy. How has everyone been going? Because, considering they actually can't get together and play.
Well, strangely, most musicians are nutbags. So, and to hang out with other nutbags regularly is really very important for some of them. Some people, they're in industries and jobs that, they don't give them much of their love or anything. So they come to band a couple of times a week. There's lots of goals, like a lot of we do a lot of competing, which it's a bit of a weird thing, but it keeps people goal oriented. We've been doing concerts. We've started doing concerts with Jonathan Welch and the Choir of Hard Knocks and his new company called Play It Forward. So we do things like that where we can help other people. So we kind of had got into this groove with Glenferrie Brass of starting all this new stuff, and then bang, it stopped. So I think we're listening to your other speakers. One of the important things is courage. And I think Gabe was saying about people having the courage to step forward, not knowing where we're going. So I think my job as an MD is to have the courage to go, I've got no idea where we're going. But you guys have to trust me, and let's just do this. And if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't, it's all fine. We'll do another trick later on. And I think that's what we've been trying to do, just to keep everyone motivated. People have some goals, things to look forward to, until we know what's the other side of this looks like.
Despite these unprecedented times, it feels to me, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, it feels like we've gone back to a slightly more traditional way of operating and existing. Maybe a slightly more conservative way of being, that we're playing board games, we're baking bread, doing puzzles and having dinner parties, conversations, albeit over Zoom. But it's a slightly more old-fashioned way of operating. I've even heard that with music. Have you found that, given that brass bands have been around since the 19th century, is my understanding? Have you found that with music that you've had more attention during this period?
I would suggest that we're allowed to be old-fashioned again. Like, how many of us have actually enjoyed this rat race that we've been kind of on the grind of, and you kind of just wished, I just wish I could stay home, and I just wish I could cook, and I just wish we could hang around and, you know, and not have to be at this party, that party. And I think people have just found that they've always wanted to do this, but now's the actual time, and it's kind of give us an excuse. Music-wise, it's gone the other way. We've all had to, I'm a complete technical nufty, but I've had to learn all of this stuff. Who knows if I'm going to retain any of it after this. But like, so many bands have got their stuff online. So many artists are doing things they've never done before. People are slowly taking up things like I can't remember what it's called. They're doing one at the Athenaeum concert hall series.
Oh, yes.
So we're trying to. The problem with our type of music is it's for the generally older people. But they're all learning technology now.
Yeah.
And we just have to learn ways of making it as simple as possible for them to be able to access what we do, so we can still engage with them, to give them what they need, but also to give us what we need, which is opportunities.
We had a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago who described it as, or said she'd heard about it as this is the great pause for the world. And I thought it was a really, really interesting way of framing it. Well, Phillipa, it's so great to have you on the show. I know you've put a clip together recently with everyone in isolation. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the song we're about to see, and then we'll play it?
This is just such a good track. It was one of those ones where I wanted, as soon as we went into lockdown, it's like, right, we need a project. We've got to do something, otherwise we're going to lose all our chops, and we've been working really hard, and we've got some really good momentum going at Glenferrie Brass. So this is a happy track. Every time we've played it, everyone's loved it, because it stays in time generally-ish. It's easier to put together. We've got one of our most quiet players, Jared Banner, is sprung out of this whole thing like a god, because he's like a genius at technology. So he's put the audio together, and another member, Stuart, put the video together. So we all had to video our parts. Then we sent it to the two guys, and they put their bits together. It was Stuart's idea to have the whole thing at the when you see this, the Harry Potter kind of esque. You'll see it at the start. I tried to look like what's his name?
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams. Yeah, I don't think I managed, but it was a bit of fun. And Jamie wore a Viennese mask for whatever reason. But yeah, so we had some fun, and so there's more coming, and we really do hope you enjoy it.
Let's have a look. Oh, that's the fabulous Glenferrie Brass. How brilliant. And musical director Phillipa Edwards is here on the show. Phillipa, what an amazing feat. How many people were in that clip?
Oh, we got about 22 in the clip. The drummer / pianist didn't send his video in time, so we didn't get him in there.
Typical drummer.
But, you know.
Anyway, look, that's an incredible feat. I just love watching that. Robbie Williams never had it so good. I'm not the first person to say that. You look fantastic as Robbie Williams. Go on tour.
I know.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Phillipa. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I wish you all the best. I hope these restrictions get lifted soon and everyone can get back together and you guys continue to have the success that you're having. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Phillipa Edwards, Glenferrie Brass.
Thank you very much.
We're going to have a quick look at one of my favourite clips from this COVID-19 experience. A newsreader who had to tackle a few little things going on in the background. Have a look on the right-hand shoulder of this newsreader as she's trying to read the sports report. Yeah, having a nice little go with these two fellas. And I mean, COVID-19's changed everything. It's even changed war. All right, let's bring back special guests, our experts here today. Welcome back, lady and gentlemen. One final comment as we finish off the episode. I always like to finish on a positive. We've got to finish on a positive. What's one positive which has come out of the COVID-19 experience for you guys? Raj, how about you? What's one positive?
On the spot. Look, I think it's family. You know, like all of a sudden our family was Zooming. You know, my brothers and sisters and my 90-year-old dad, and we've got him on Zoom and the grandkids, and so that was really nice connecting in a way like that. We don't normally when we get together it's live once a year, but to be able to get together on Zoom as a big group was fun.
Fantastic. Gabe, how about you? One positive that's come out of the COVID-19 experience for you?
Societal kindness. I've seen so many examples of it, and I was up at donating blood at the Red Cross recently, and they said they've never had so many donors in there as they've had through this period. There are just so many people that want to find a way that they can contribute positively, and there are just endless examples of that throughout society. So I'm really thrilled to be a part of a community that's giving.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gabe. Jack, how about you? Final comment. What's one positive that's come out of this experience?
I'd have to say greater awareness from the people that I've been working with, the greater awareness of others' vulnerability. And having to step into that space and talk about it and sit with it, that's been, I think, really something I really hope that stays with us.
Fantastic. Good on you guys. Thank you so much for your time here today. Jack Finsterer, Raj Sidhu and Gabrielle Harris. Thank you so much, Gabe, also for your time throughout the 10 weeks of doing this show. Thank you also to our house band today, the fabulous Glenferrie Brass and musical director Phillipa Edwards. Thank you, Phillipa. Thank you also to my Interchange co-host, Emma Grace Double Leopard. That was too quick. One more time, please. She does have double leopard on today. Look at the earrings. Leopard, leopard. 2 leopards. Thank you so much, Emma, for being a part of this 10 weeks. I couldn't have done it without you. It was marvellous. So Chris Kabadi is my name. Thank you for joining us here. It's been a real pleasure to bring the 2PM project to you over the last 10 weeks. I hope you've enjoyed the series. I hope you stay safe during these unprecedented times and you spring back to a new normal real soon. Or maybe not. Maybe we just continue.
And here's to you, Christopher Gabbardi.
Oh, that's my pleasure, Gabe. Why don't we just, hooray! Why don't we just continue down this path and just be good to each other and value and respect everyone? How about we do that into a nicer, braver new world? Thanks for being a part of the show, everyone. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you over the last couple of weeks. All the best to you. Stay safe. See you later.